I would like to call to order the special meeting of the D303 St. Charles School Board on Monday, April 17th, 2023. It is 5:31 p.m. Ms. Marsan, would you please take the roll?
Mrs. Barker.
Here.
Mrs. Bell. Here. Mr. Kuchert.
Here.
Mr. Lackner.
Here.
Mrs. McCabe.
Here.
Mr. McNally.
Here.
And Mrs. Fairgrave.
Here. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, before we do proceed further on the agenda, I would like to ask Dr. Gordon to make a statement.
Absolutely. Good evening, everybody. As many of you are aware, last week, district administration informed 9 of our teachers across 5 schools that they would be involuntary transferred for the 23-24 school year. This is a decision that we did not come to lightly and was made only in accordance with existing processes used in previous years under the Teachers Association contract. The transfer process enables these teachers to maintain their employment in District 303 and to continue to serve students based on their licensure and certificate. These changes will ensure more consistent student to teacher ratios across all levels of education and support the long-term financial stability of the district. So how did we get here? Last year, the board approved a deficit budget that was brought forward by the prior administration. However, the board has been very clear with me, and I agree, that the district would not run a deficit again in the 23-24 school year. With the board direction, my team began reviewing the long-term financial stability of the district. It became clear the district needed to modify how we operate financially. To achieve this goal and to achieve long-term sustainability, my team began with a review of the class sizes across the district to determine what staffing adjustments could potentially be made without eliminating programs or courses. It was determined high schools were overstaffed in running classes with low student teacher ratio. For example, there are civics, English, and physics classes with as few as 15 students and Spanish classes with as few as 14. The goal is to have many of our classes in the 24 to 27 student range, which is in the teacher's contract. The goal is to have equity in student teacher ratios K-12. Moving forward, we made the decision to tighten up the overstaffing. This meant we needed to reduce the number of FTE or full-time equivalent staffing positions through an involuntary process. The process is the same exact process that has been implemented for years in D303. This was the same process that was used last year at East High School and other schools throughout the district. The involuntary process is a process that is supported by the D303 Teachers Association. And once we finalized the overstaff, we realized there were 9 teachers from 5 different schools that would need to be transferred. 6 high school teachers, 2 elementary, and 1 middle school. The involuntary transfer process is not about any 1 or 2 individuals. This is a process that does not work arbitrarily. The individual transfer process mirrors some aspects of the reduction in force process. The first part of the process for both requires the district to review all current openings and licensure and certificate requirements for that position. We then determine if there are any educators who can fill the open positions based on their licensure and certificates. In this case, there were positions available and educators who had the correct licensure and credentials. It is important that we implement the process consistently so as to maintain the integrity of the process. I recognize these are very challenging decisions that impact the lives of our staff. That is not lost on me, nor is the fact that it's critical that the district run a balanced budget. I'll finish by saying these are 9 outstanding educators in D303 who are committed to student excellence. And I'm confident that these educators who are being transferred will continue to do great work for D303 students, their colleagues, in our community. Mrs. Fairgrieve.
Thank you, Dr. Gordon. We do have citizen comments this evening. Mrs. McCabe, would you please read our preamble?
During the public comment period, members of the public body who wish to speak are asked to first state their name and community in which they reside. Each individual will have up to 3 minutes to address the board on a topic of their choosing. A timer will ring when the time is up. We ask all individuals who address the board to do so with respect and civility towards others. Please note that personnel matters are sensitive and confidential. We will also want to inform our speakers that all regular, special, and committee meetings are live streamed and available for viewing at any time on the district's YouTube channel. While the board will not respond to today's public comment during the meeting, we are committed to listening to you to help support our work for the district and on behalf of our students, staff, families, and community members. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. McCabe. May I ask to come forward our first speaker, Tyler Moore?
Hello, my name is Tyler Moore. I live in South Elgin, but I go to St. Charles North High School where I'm a junior. The decisions of the board and the superintendent are directly affecting all North students, as your increase in class sizes will negatively affect our academic excellency that so many of you claim to be pursuing. We know that higher class sizes are directly correlated with lower test scores and lower academic achievement. Now, I've heard many say that, including Dr. Gordon, say that we need more equity between the other grades such as elementary school and high school with our student to faculty ratio. The solution to that should be to help our elementary and middle schools and increase the amount and lower the student to faculty ratio there rather than to harm the high schools to make it equitable. Now, I'm also personally affected by this. I had Mrs. Fremling, who was one of the teachers who was being involuntarily transferred as my sophomore year English teacher. And she was one of the best teachers I have ever had. She had a massive impact on my life. And the fact that she is being transferred out of high school to a entirely different teaching environment is completely unfair. She has taught for 14 years at St. Charles North. She has no experience teaching at middle or elementary schools. And it is ridiculous to think that this sudden change is acceptable, that she'll still be able to teach on the same level at a different school. It's a completely different environment. Furthermore, she is an advisor for both the North's student newspaper, the Stargazer, and North's National English Honor Society. Moving all of these teachers takes them away from the clubs that they are vitally important to. It takes away students' role models, and it harms us as we lose these amazing educators. Now, I don't know all of the educators who are being involuntarily transferred. I just know Mrs. Fremling, but I've heard from many other students that many of these educators are amazing high school teachers, amazing middle school teachers, or elementary school teachers. They're not broad teachers in a broad sense. They teach those specific age groups, and they teach them for a reason. They know how to teach them. And if the point of these transfers is for them to fill positions with people who can do those jobs, I don't see how this achieves that. I believe that these decisions will be massively harmful to student performance, the students' well-being at school, and also will harm the unity of our district. Thank you.
Thank you. May I ask Jay Jandura? I apologize if I did not pronounce it right.
Hello, my name is Jay Jandura. I live here in St. Charles and I attend St. Charles North. Where I'm a senior. Despite the fact that I may be graduating in a few short weeks, I care too much about my high school to stand by and watch so many teachers be torn away from their students, their coworkers, and the community that they have helped build at North. Purely because of the fact that that the board has this misguided idea that we need to make these class sizes larger in order to save money. The very concept of moving teachers around to get large is to create larger class sizes is incredibly flawed, as many studies have shown that larger classrooms result in negative effects on both students and teachers, with grades and test scores decreasing across the board, teachers being stretched thin trying to meet the needs of the many students that are now under their care, and decreased participation from students and increased misbehavior from students. I am planning to be a future educator. I'm going to be going to Illinois State University, where I will be majoring in history/social sciences education because I want to be a high school history teacher. And as a future educator, it worries me to no end to see how these teachers who have done nothing but show love for their students and teach them well, are being forced to leave and go to a school where they are not meant to teach at. Elementary school teachers and middle school teachers deal with very different things than high school teachers. And though they all went to school to learn the same things, it takes very different people to deal with 6-year-olds than it takes to deal with 16-year-olds. Moving the teachers around like this is like taking a pediatrician and asking them to perform brain surgery. And for those teachers who may have previously wanted to learn how to do brain surgery so they can help their students down the line, some of them are now afraid that if they learn now, they will be the next ones to go, and they don't want to risk their careers at the high school level. I also want to focus on something that is very important to myself and many other students, and that's the idea of having a teacher that you consider a safe adult to talk to and someone that you can look up to at North. While North has many teachers that I know that I can go to if I'm having a hard time and need someone to talk to, certain adults are much easier to talk to than others. For me personally, Mrs. Fremling was one of the first teachers at North that I fully trusted. She was the first teacher that I told about the fact that I'm gay and trans back when I was a sophomore, and she's been a beacon of support for me since then. Every student has at least one trusted adult, and for my peers who aren't graduating soon, it pains me to see them realize that teachers who may have developed such a fundamental role in the development of their growth as a person won't be there for them next year. Many of you, while campaigning in the past, have mentioned that you care about the voices of the students. So I am asking you to stick to your promises. Listen to my voice and the voices of my peers, and don't take away teachers that have taught us so much and serve as our trusted adults, because we can't have incredible students if we don't have incredible teachers.
Thank you. Next, I would like to ask Derek Hibben to come forward.
I'm Derek Hibben, a junior at St. Charles North. And this topic of increasing class sizes and the transferring of teachers is very important to me. And everyone in this room and on this live stream is affected by some way by this decision. I am a very busy kid. I did not have to be here, but I thought that this was very important for me to come to and speak to. Since I left school on Friday, I've had 5 rehearsals and 2 concerts. And I am tired, exhausted, and stressed, but I am here. And I recognize your efforts to try to cut down on the budget. However, there comes a point when the cost of the budget is the student success. And we're supposed to have an education system, not a business. These changes are going to impact both teachers and students. I'm currently in Mr. Callahan's class right now, and he is, as a few of my peers have said, one of my trusted adults. He is just always upbeat and positive, and has been a positive influence on my life and everyone in, I assume, all of his classes. He has these trivia things like once a week. He had a little more than once a week not too long ago because he forgot, but it's just these little things that they do that just make everything just seem so much better at school, and making the school not seem like such a chore sometimes. But if we're losing these teachers and increasing the class sizes, how are we supposed to have a decent relationship with our teachers? How are we supposed to continue our academic success? And if you continuously say that you want what's best for the students, and in the statement of this description for this meeting, it says, and I quote, "We are committed to listening to you to help support our work for the district and on behalf of our students, staff, family, and community members." But I'm not getting the sense that you are thoroughly following through on this promise. I know many of you have children in our schools. I know some of them personally. I know Will. I do know Owen. And I know Amy. And please do what is best for them and for the rest of us. Thank you.
Thank you. May I ask Simone Wright to come forward?
I'm Simone Wright. I live in St. Charles and I am a student at St. Charles North High School, a sophomore. I'm going to be blunt here. December of last year, I was diagnosed with autism, ADHD, and severe social anxiety. So as I'm sure you can tell by the slight shake in my voice, I'm not exactly neurotypical. Having larger classrooms, I think, is not going to be the best for students like me, especially autistic students. Quite frankly, I think these educators deserve to be able to have their position and their role within the student body. And I think that especially Miss Fremling, a teacher who I had my freshman year, I think she instrumentally helped me be able to work through the year, all my issues, my mental health issues. And even though she didn't know what I was going through, she was still there to support me. And I think if these classroom spaces are increased, they're going to be louder, they're going to be busier, they're going to be more cramped than they were prior. And that's extremely hard for neurodivergent students to navigate through. Frankly, because of my autism, I'm already having trouble with the class sizes that I do have. And in my mind, it seems extremely disrespectful to make these classes even bigger while ignoring the issues that neurodivergent students face within North already. I think we are a very diverse community. We have different people of all sorts of different backgrounds. And I think that our classroom should reflect that too, that we should have the ability to accommodate all sorts of different students regardless of their issues. And this isn't going to add anything to that. Overall, I think this decision is only going to harm these students, and it makes me feel not validated or that anyone thought of neurodivergent people when making these decisions. It feels like we're being neglected in that it's made only for the financial purposes, respectfully. All in all, I think our educators matter, our students matter, and anyone in this room who has family who has autistic children, children with ADHD, neurodivergent children, knows them, etc., they should have the same opinions about this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. May I ask Kathy McCullough to come forward?
My name is Kathy McCullough. I live in St. Charles. I am here speaking as an individual and not on behalf of SAEA. I will be very brief. I just want to add an extra layer to what's being shared this evening. I am retiring from the position of reading specialist at Redley Middle School. Reading specialists, instructional coaches, and media specialists are unique leadership roles. The staff and students in our buildings rely on the expertise and passion of these individuals. Filling an opening in one of these positions with someone who has the credentials on paper is not enough, especially for a district like D303. Involuntarily transferring a classroom teacher into a specialist or coaching role does not ultimately meet the needs of our students or our staff. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for those comments. May I ask Elliot Johnson to come forward?
Hello, I'm Elliot Johnson. I live in South Elgin. I'm a junior at St. Charles North, and today I'd like to discuss the involuntary transfer of 4 of our St. Charles North teachers, Mrs. Fremling, Mr. Callahan, Ms. Smith, and Mrs. Thompson. Now, these teachers are being removed from their classrooms to teach younger students. Some have been teaching at my school for over a decade. They have become integral parts of our North community. Why are these teachers being transferred? The district is concerned that hiring teachers to fill in empty spots at our middle and elementary schools would cost too much. But if there was such an extreme concern about money at D303, why was there an email sent just 1 week ago informing students and staff that the district's revenue was trending slightly ahead? To me and my many other students, this makes no sense. And what about classes at North and East? How will we account for less teachers? The solution, we have been told, is higher numbers of students in English and foreign language classes. The minimum enrollment has been said to be 27 students, 24 to 27, my apologies. This number range is not sustainable. Our classrooms aren't set up for those numbers. Our teachers can't be expected to account for that many kids per class with multiple classes per day. Kids are going to slip through the cracks. Studies support that the higher the number of students in a class, the worse the engagement and retention is. Truth be told, I'm worried about these changes. I'm worried that my education is going to suffer. I'm worried that I will start losing the teachers I consider trusted adults. But as a junior, I know that this will only affect me for 1 more year. Most of all, I'm worried for my underclassmen in our high schools. Over the past few days, I've been imagining what it would have felt like with those class sizes as a freshman, how scary participating in class would have felt, and how I might not have discovered my love for writing and becoming a lawyer when I graduate high school. These changes can and will affect students' lives. They will also affect the lives of the 4 educators that are being removed. Mrs. Fremling has been teaching at North for 14 years. She runs Stargazer and is an advisor for the National English Honor Society. Mr. Callahan has been teaching for 15 years. These 2 teachers are being put involuntarily transferred to positions they are not familiar with and have been given very little time to restructure the way they teach and learn the new course materials. On behalf of the North Star students, we urge you to listen and reconsider these life-altering decisions about our faculty and classes. Yesterday around 3 p.m., I created a petition to garner support for the reconsideration of these transfers. As of earlier today, the number sits at over 550 people signing. All of us are hoping that you will listen to the numbers, listen to the studies, and listen to the voices of the students you're supposed to be serving. North has received the Blue Ribbon Award. We just want to prove that we deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you. May I ask Addie Grimm to come forward?
Hi, my name is Addie Grimm. I live in St. Charles and I'm a senior at St. Charles North. So I'm speaking in response to the recent news regarding North teachers being transferred. I cannot convey the immense sadness that I felt when I found out that Mrs. Fremling was being transferred to Munhall Elementary School. I'm the president editor-in-chief of the Stargazer, so she's my advisor. She was also my sophomore English teacher, and she's the advisor for National English Honor Society, which I'm a part of. Over a course of 4 years, where nothing during my high school years has felt constant, she has been a constant person in my life. Mrs. Fremling was my favorite English teacher during my time at North, and I truly feel like I learned the most in her class. Not only that, but she cared about her students as people. With all the craziness of COVID, we could always tell that she cared about our well-being and made sure to check in on us. This year, from being editor-in-chief, I can tell you firsthand how important Mrs. Fremling is to the Stargazer. Her responsibilities reach far beyond just our Monday meetings. The whole staff is working all week, including her. And this has been an amazing year for Stargazer. We were awarded the NISPA Gold Certificate, which is the highest distinction for newspapers. We placed first in our IHSA sectional just a few weeks ago. And we are sending 6 of our staff members to state this Friday. And all of these accomplishments are a testament to Mrs. Fremling's dedicated leadership. And the fact that Mrs. Fremling is being transferred out of North makes me wonder if the decision makers in this matter truly value the Stargazer and other organizations at North. If you truly did, then you wouldn't be taking away our advisor who has made this such a successful publication. I'm sorry that I cannot speak more personally about the other teachers that are getting transferred, but I do know that the consequences of these transfers won't be good for the North population. Larger class sizes won't be good for anyone, teachers and students included. And I'm a graduating senior. I technically should not care about this, but I do. I care about the students and the staff still in the district, and I'm asking you to care too. Dr. Gordon, Earlier this year, you gave the district the motto, "Be here, be you, belong." I can tell you with complete certainty that these teachers belong at North. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Jason Schmidt, please come forward.
Jason Schmidt. I live in Elgin. I'm speaking as an individual, and Brian and Alice, thanks for teaching your students so well that I am now nervous. Dr. Gordon, board members, thank you for this opportunity to speak. I've been working as an English teacher in D303 for almost 20 years, and I stand before you today as a parent of U46 students who have had teachers constantly move due to involuntary transfer policies, and some they've left the profession because of it. There have been ups and downs throughout these 20 years as a teacher in this district, but I have never been embarrassed to tell people where I work or what I do. I've always felt pride and a sense of belonging here. This is one of the few times I can truly remember being ashamed of our district and in a way, and the way in which our colleagues have been treated. Dr. Gordon, in the superintendent's fall newsletter, you said a successful district, quote, starts with the collective and daily commitment of our district D303 staff. Quality instruction is how we honor the dignity of every person and help grow our culture of belonging. Dr. Gordon, I agree with you. We need to honor the dignity of every person, but argue it is non-negotiable. We are taking excellent teachers out of the classroom. Do we feel comfortable with hammering the apparent truth home? The credentials, loyalty, awards, and methodologies are meaningless in this district. The current transfer process, the current RIF law seems to ignore the complexities of a unit school district. And I have to believe that we all know and recognize this. I keep hearing that difficult choices have to be made and that all of this is being done to balance the budget and for financial responsibility purposes. This entire process has been difficult to rationalize, while obviously being driven by numbers rather than best practices or ensuring the dignity of our colleagues. Dr. Gordon, I've said this to you personally before, and I meant it. I don't envy your job at all. You do have to make some difficult choices, and you have attempted to follow the policies that you've walked into as our new superintendent. But this isn't a difficult choice. From Alice and Brian being sat down midway through the school day last Wednesday, 5 days ago, with no warning and being given 24 hours to make professional, personal decisions, to not giving any warning that this was coming at all in our district, which might have opened up possibilities for voluntary movement. We are just starting to obliterate the faith that we have in our administration's ability to clearly communicate or communicate at all with staff and attempt to find meaningful, creative solutions. Board members, Dr. Gordon, everyone, we can do better than this. A difficult decision isn't doing what every district has done before, which is what keeps getting repeated, is that this is what it's been, this is how it's done. That's not what should be the decision. Telling someone they have to move to an inappropriate position for them doesn't really take that much effort, but rather finding better solutions is paramount to success. Not next year, not in a new contract, now. Doing what's right is difficult. I challenge anyone to argue the decisions made the past week are right, equitable, fair, or dignified. Involuntary transfers happen, and they are an unfortunate reality of this job. We all realize that. But this specific process this year in which veteran, decorated, and honored teachers are being ripped from where they obviously belong makes a mockery of everything we and you claim to believe in. Please fix this. Common sense has to win today. Decency has to win today. Or how can any of us claim that this district is the best interest of students and staff at heart? I want to feel like I belong here, though we all do. Isn't that non-negotiable? I keep looking back at all of you. Look, this is what every district asks for. They want to have all invested parties come together. They want alumni, they want students, they want staff. This is what that looks like. And the fact that we're ignoring that is ridiculous. So my challenge would be this. Do what is right. Don't necessarily do the thing that is the smart financial decision because it is ridiculous. These two teachers belong in this school, and specifically North. Thank you.
Thank you. May I invite Catherine McCleary forward, please?
Hi, Paul, members of the board and other admin. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to us today, and I have hope and faith you'll act in the correct manner. My name is Dr. Catherine McCleary. I live in the Thornwood neighborhood of our district. My opinions are my own, do not represent my district or my association. Now, to quote our tech guru friend, Matt Smith, too long, didn't read. With these involuntary transfers, you're throwing money down the drain by negating the most powerful instructional strategy there is, which is collective teacher efficacy. I'm one of the instructional support coaches at North and a teacher in the English department. I'm also a parent. By the time they're graduated, my children will have collectively spent 45 years in the D303 system. To say I am invested in this school and district is an understatement. We know teachers being involuntarily transferred have had a profound impact on our students and colleagues, but how does this correlate to student achievement? Research from educational guru John Hattie shows that hands down, the instructional strategy that has the biggest impact on student learning and achievement is collective teacher efficacy. This is the shared belief that through their collective action, educators can influence student outcomes and increase achievement for all students. To give some perspective, it's twice as impactful as student discussion, twice as impactful as interventions, the use of feedback, and 4 times as impactful as high-level questioning in the classroom. In short, this is truly the best instructional strategy that the district can invest in with regards to impact on student achievement. In fact, we've already invested heavily in this strategy. We offer a course for educators entitled Collective Teacher Efficacy for the past 7 years. Before that, a course geared towards effective PLCs, which also incorporates the concept of collective efficacy. I know this because I'm the one who's written these courses and who's taught them for the past 10 years to hundreds of our D303 educators. I've seen firsthand how it takes years for true collective efficacy to develop, but also how quickly it can be erased. These involuntary transfers are doing just that. Given the district's huge push towards powerful PLCs for this upcoming year, Paul, you've talked about that a lot, which completely hinges on collective teacher efficacy, I fear for what is to come if we continue with these transfers. I'm all for equitable class sizes. I'm the parent of elementary students. I get it. But at the high school level, we have no reading interventionists like our elementary and middle schools do. What we do have is each other. And we have years of reading expertise from the teachers being transferred who are sitting behind me. This human capital makes up our school's collective efficacy. And considering we've achieved blue ribbon status and are one of the highest ranked public schools in the state, I'd say we as a district have gotten a considerable return on our investment. Please don't throw away untold sums of money by wasting the dollars we have invested in collective efficacy up until this point, with the decision to enact multiple years worth of cuts within just a few months. Do the right thing, let the attrition happen over just 1 more year, and put the teachers in this district first so we can continue to put our students' achievement first. Thank you.
Thank you. May I ask Cindy Mahalik to come forward?
Good afternoon. My name is Cindy Mahalik. I'm a 17-year veteran of D303. I speak here today as an individual and not on behalf of SCEA or D303. In 2013, the school district offered a cohort opportunity through NIU to pursue a master's in literacy education with the option of applying for the reading specialist endorsement. Seeing how much my high school students struggled in this area, I decided to join this cohort. I was the only high school teacher in a group of 20 women. The first course was reading at the elementary level. Besides the second course, writing at the elementary level, none of the other courses had a focus on the elementary school. That is 6 credits of elementary specific coursework out of 33 needed to become licensed. While the license may be K through 12, because that is all there is available, that does not mean I was properly trained to apply my learning to any other level but my own. I do not even have the proper skill set to support my 7-year-old daughter who has a reading IEP. And so I continued through the program, learning how to best screen and diagnose students at the high school level and what text to use in each scenario. I learned how to support my high school students with level texts, how to scaffold text complexity, and support their reading journeys in social studies. I worked with the other freshman social studies teachers at North to screen students, obtain reading levels, and appropriately assign texts that would best suit each child and their ability to comprehend our content, so while are slowly challenging them. I shared this data with all the freshman English teachers so they could better support our students as well. I did this because my students needed it desperately, and the district refused to provide any FTEs for a reading specialist for the building. Why I share my experience is because, like myself, Alice and Brian never took those courses with the intention of using it at the elementary and middle school level. Like me, they have used their training to build and support programs at the high school. Brian and Alice have both used their expertise in the development of reading classes offered to non-IEP students, including creating their own program to progress monitor students. Alice has used her training and expertise to develop and grow the literacy block class, an intervention in the English department to support struggling readers and writers to help close the achievement gap. Many of us at North with reading specialist endorsements have repeatedly asked our administration year after year for a reading specialist position at the high school, or for at least resources that are meant for high school, instead of telling us to either use outdated, outnormed resources or resources that specifically say not to use with upper level students because they are not normed for that level. Unlike me, though, Alice and Brian did not pull their reading licensure with the state upon seeing two colleagues being involuntarily transferred to levels that they have never taught to perform tasks they were not trained for, going against the very notion of and the district's commitment to putting the most highly qualified staff into positions to best support students. Because that is what I will be doing to prevent me from being put into a similar situation.
Thank you. May I ask Morgana Olson to come forward?
Hello, my name is Morgana Olson. I live in Camden Hills and I'm currently a sophomore at St. Charles North. I'm here to talk to you about your decision to increase high school class sizes and move teachers out of my school. I would like to let you know from a student's perspective, the benefits of our currently reasonable class sizes. Right now, my teachers are able to help me and my classmates succeed by answering questions in class, as well as by providing support outside of class if needed. We are also known by our teachers as individuals, not just as bodies sitting at desks. We are encouraged to develop a positive class dynamic by getting to know our classmates, which would be increasingly difficult with a larger class size. This in turn would hurt the class communities we create, and thus would make students less comfortable in school. This would not be an environment where students can succeed like they can now. Reasonable class sizes also allow us to collaborate and communicate with our peers, such as in-class discussions. This provides us with skills we carry with into college or wherever our paths take us. I worry that a larger class would take this away from us. Finally, I want to share this. As I thought about the repercussions of this decision, I thought about our recent Hope Week at school. During this, they talked about how it is important to have a trusted adult in the school and encouraged us to write down who our trusted is. When good teachers are removed and the students who wrote down those teachers will lose their trusted at school. This means that if something happens, they won't have their safe person to go to. Academics do, of course, matter when we are talking about schools. However, I believe that in order to meet their academic potential, students must first have the support they need to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Teresa Nealis.
Good evening. I'm speaking here tonight on behalf of my daughter, Bridget Nellis, who is not here because she's a recent North graduate and she's off succeeding because of the people we are talking about tonight. So these are her words that she will be speaking. Hi, my name is Bridget Nellis and I graduated from St. Charles North last May. Currently, I'm finishing my first year at University of Iowa, and I can honestly say I would not be here and as successful today if it weren't for the support and guidance of Alice Fremling. Throughout my time at North, I had the honor and privilege of being part of North students' paper, The Stargazer, for 3 years, with my last year being editor-in-chief. As such, I've worked closely with Ms. Fremling. She's one of the most supportive and passionate educators I have ever met. She fostered a culture of joy and acceptance in the newsroom each week. She actually cared about her students and their lives. Ms. Fremling was my safe person at North, someone I knew I could go to who believed in me more than I believed in myself. She helped me to grow in my confidence. I am thriving in college today because of the skills she instilled in me. She's beloved by her students and her fellow staff members. Spend 5 minutes with her and you will see how evident it is that she loves what she does. If you take Miss Fremling from North, you would take away one of the most best passionate teachers there is there. Those are my daughter's words, and I just want to share a few of my own words. One, I find it very ironic that a year ago I was here celebrating my daughter at your board meeting because of the award she won because of Miss Fremling nominating her, supporting her, and it was a state of Illinois, 10 people won it. My daughter was one of them, and you all congratulated her. You take away Miss Fremling and those things go away. I'll also speak on the fact that I'm a school social worker for 28 years. The pandemic was not kind to our social emotional functioning of students. I cannot even count how many people have said safe, trusted adult. The culture is to belong. The culture is to feel safe. As a school social worker, I know what that means to be the safe, trusted adult by children. You're asking these students who have suffered for 3 years of pandemic to not have a person when they feel like life is not what they want it to be, when they are scarred by this. I couldn't even help my own daughter all the time. And so when I read tonight that she said, Miss Fremling's my safe adults, I said, thank goodness. Thank goodness my daughter had that. Thank you.
Thank you. May I ask Victoria Roberts Verota to come forward? Thank you. My apologies.
Hi, my name is Vicki Roberts Vivota. I live in St. Charles. I do not have students at St. Charles North. My 2 kids went to St. Charles East, but I am a 35-year veteran teacher, retired in 2020, 34 years and 1 year of sick leave because I loved going to school. So I didn't call in sick. I'm concerned because I hear everyone saying connections, connections, connections. And having taught for 34 years, I understand how important that is. I'm 60 years old. I have friends on Facebook who are 55, okay, who were my former students and loved me because of the interpersonal skills that everyone was talking about. So the connections, I think that's what I want to speak to tonight, because I just feel from hearing about these teachers, and I understand transfers need to happen, but could there be a better way where asking first if anyone might be interested and just throwing this on teachers and having them try to somehow come to terms with it, and this is how it's going to happen. I don't see that that's good for the connections, the students, or the faculty. So thank you so much.
Thank you. May I ask Robin Roberts to come forward?
Hi, my name is Robin Roberts. I am a proud 30-year D303 resident and a very proud 15-year retired teacher from St. Charles North. I want to first thank everyone for calling me back that I reached out to, because I believe I've spoken to every one of you. What I forgot to say when I spoke to you is that you have underestimated what you have done to St. Charles North. These teachers.
We won't be able to hear you. We won't hear you.
Yeah. So these teachers, at a time when their students should be celebrating the end of the school year, and these teachers should be energetic and excited to finish a great year, do you know what you've done to them? You've made them extremely sad to go to their job that they love every day. The climate at St. Charles North is horrible right now, and I'm not even working there. And I can feel it, and you can feel it. Look at these teachers' faces and look at these students. You should be ashamed of yourselves, ashamed. I'm shocked. I'm selling my house right now, and I don't want anyone to buy it because I don't want their kids to go to St. Charles School District. I also want to say this would never happen. You would never, ever take an athletic coach and move them. You will mess with students that want to write, and kids that want to be like English and like reading and writing. You'll move their sponsor because, oh, that doesn't matter. You won't move Rob Rooney. You won't move any athletic coach. And those coaches know it. It's pathetic. You should be ashamed. I want you to look these kids in the eye. And I want you to say, I'm doing the best I can for you. And that is a lie. You're lying to the students, you're lying to the staff, and you are not being transparent. Transparency is dead in D303. There are other things coming that you have no idea about. I'm sure you'll find out soon. Programs being changed, things being cut, but nobody knows that yet. And then you'll be like, oh, wow, we should have been more transparent. I am so thrilled that I don't teach at St. Charles North anymore. And I thought I would never say that. And it's because of your decisions. It's shameful.
Thank you. May I ask Kristen Williams to come forward?
Good evening, Dr. Gordon, administrators, and the school board. My name is Kristen Williams. I live in South Elgin. I'm speaking as an individual tonight, not on the behalf of the SCEA or D303. I've been teaching English at St. Charles North for 22 years, well, almost 22 years. My son graduated from North in 2022 and is a successful freshman at the University of Colorado, and my daughter is a student at Redmling. Within the last 11 days, I've gone from being excited, hopeful, and valued to shocked, heartbroken, and confused. On April 7th, we spent a productive afternoon working on power standards to help us ensure all students succeed academically. I was excited. After all, isn't meeting the needs of individual students our ultimate goal as a district and as educators? Fast forward 1 week. Without any warning, we learned due to board-directed budgetary goals, 4 talented teachers from North are being involuntarily transferred to specialist positions. Our class sizes are being increased, and some long-running supports we have for students may be weakened in the process. After the shock dissipated, a wave of confusion washed over me. I thought, this doesn't seem like D303. Don't all these decisions seem counterproductive to ensuring all students succeed academically? So think about it with me. Question number 1, isn't it easier to ensure all students master standards if class sizes are smaller? It seems pretty common sense, right? 47 minutes, if I have 27 students in a class, that's 1.7 minutes I could hypothetically devote per student. However, we know 47 minutes doesn't really work like that. Attendance, announcements, directions, instructions, etc., all require time. In addition, I can only test the grading load of English teachers if it takes approximately 15 minutes to grade a 3 to 4 page paper, which means if I have 135 students, 27 in each class, 5 classes, that means 35 hours to grade 1 assignment. So just think about that. So increasing class size slows down the intervention and feedback process, making it more difficult for us to help all students meet the individual needs of all those students. It makes it harder for them to master the power standards. Another question, aren't highly qualified experienced teachers integral to helping all students master standards? This question speaks to it for itself. Moving teachers to positions where they lack experience is going to diminish our ability as a school and district to help all students master standards. As a parent of a child who struggled with reading in elementary school, I wanted my child to have a reading specialist who is experienced at the elementary school, not a high school teacher who is been lowered down. Also, so in closing, I've run out of time, but simply put, our job is to ensure all students are set up to succeed. How about inviting us to the table? Maybe together we can find creative and compassionate solutions to our budgetary challenges. Our students deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you. May I ask Alice Bremling to come forward?
Good evening. I'm Alice Fremling. I live in South Elgin and I am not speaking on behalf of SCEA or D303. I'm finishing my 14th year of teaching English at North, and last week I was told I was being involuntarily transferred out of the high school level. I understand that Dr. Gordon, Dr. Christensen, and Ms. Conlon were operating under a strict directive from the board to provide a balanced budget after passing deficit budgets for the past 2 years. And honestly, I admire their ability to succeed in that goal. Dr. Gordon walked into a district that was lacking necessary structures and that had not taken responsibility for addressing this deficit. And to their credit, he and his team have given us plenty of face-to-face time to explain the process that led to this outcome. And what is this outcome for students? The outcome is that we're losing 20 full-time educator positions at the high schools, some through transfer, some through attrition. The outcome is that North's Writing Center is being reduced to a supervision period, a change that will drastically affect students' abilities to access this support. The outcome is that 6 of your high school teachers are moving to different levels. And the outcome for 2 of your veterans with a combined 29 years of experience is that we lose our ability to offer our English expertise to high school students. Is it a fix that works on paper? You bet. You get your balanced budget. But what the ledger lines don't show is how students will suffer. As I said, Paul did his job. The cards have fallen in a way that has left shockwaves across the district, but the cards were dealt by the book. The question, however, is whether the cards needed to be dealt so quickly and so harshly. I've emailed or spoken with many of you. You've seen my plea. I don't need to remind you of my reputation within the community or my status as a high school educator of the year or the positive feedback I consistently get from students and parents. I understand that to some extent, a school district is a business, but right now it feels like we're an accounting firm rather than a human institution, because a teacher in D303 can give 14 years of exceptional and passionate work, but they'll still only be a number. You have the final say in how these cards are dealt. We all want a balanced budget, but is the demand for an immediate fix after years of approving deficit budgets fair to your students? Is the right answer hitting staff with drastic surprise cuts in April rather than by engaging us in problem solving the issue to truly understand the impact on students? And if we're talking budget, why would you pay me the dollars in my 14-year salary to be in a position that I'm not best equipped to teach? I've been told a few times this week that tough decisions had to be made. And in turn, I know I have some tough decisions to make. However, being a student-centered educator, I cannot do our most vulnerable students a disservice by taking a position I don't feel I am best qualified for. Thank you.
May I ask Brian Callahan to come forward?
Hi, evening. My name is Brian Callahan. I'm a resident of Geneva and I'm speaking on behalf of myself, not SCA or the district. I'm finishing my 15th year at North. Last week, I was told I'm being involuntarily moved to Munn Hall Elementary as a reading specialist. Now, honestly, I was reluctant to speak and to share because I'm naturally a positive and solution forward person. I try to see the best in all people in all situations. However, my mind changed recently when I was getting physical therapy because I had knee surgery recently and I'm getting a little bit old. But the physical therapist asked, what do you do as we're making small talk? So I teach high school at North. He's like, oh, that's awesome. Must be great to work with kids. And then he chuckled and said, I hear working with parents is the worst though. And I corrected him. I said, no, we have a fantastic community at North and we really do. And that's what moved me to be here today because I do owe it to our D303 community after over a decade of support from them. And because our community deserves to know what's happened. As I said before, I try to think of solutions. So my first thought was, what was the catalyst for this decision? And Dr. Gordon was generous and gracious enough to come and speak and let us know that he agreed to have a balanced budget for the district, but to do so, class sizes would be increasing at the high school levels, which resulted in almost 20 teachers being not being replaced between the 2 schools. Now, after almost 20 years teaching, the most effective instructional decision I've experienced is reducing the student to teacher ratio. I've been told that class sizes at other levels are higher. And I understand that's not right and it shouldn't be. However, that backward thinking that we should be raising class sizes to balance that out is not the correct thinking. We should be finding ways to increase our class sizes, or not to increase our class sizes, but should be looking for ways to reduce the class sizes across the board from K through 12. Smaller class sizes means more one-on-one instruction for students. It means more timely and meaningful feedback for students. It means more differentiation possibilities for students. Increasing class sizes, removing 20 teaching positions, it's not for students and it's not for our community. Our community deserves better. Now, by removing Alice and myself, you're not simply moving teachers. You are tearing the heart out of our English department and our North family. I've been at North for 15 years. I've been here through 3 principals, 6 evaluators, and 3 superintendents. I don't believe there's a single teacher at North who doesn't know my name or Alice's name. We're generous, we're kind, we're sincere, we're genuine. We're proud to be a part of our North Star country. We love our North family. By removing Alice and myself, our community is losing a part of the soul of North. I'm a good teacher. Dr. Gordon said I'm an outstanding teacher, and I thank him. I really do love working with students, and I truly care for all of them. I'm a professional. You come here next week, I'll still be wearing a tie. I'll do my best in any role that I'm placed in. I never let my students, regardless of the role or their age, down. I owe it to them and I will do my best, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here because we have a great community of parents, students, and guardians. I'm here because the decision to displace teachers against their will, to eliminate teaching positions, and to increase those class sizes is not what is best for the community. We know better. We can be better. Our community deserves better. So I'm here today to plead for them. Bring the heart back to North. Do what is best for our community and find other solutions. Please, let's be better.
Thank you. Thank you. May I ask Jonah Ning? Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm sure I didn't say your last name correctly.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jonah Nink. I live in Chicago currently, but I am a former student of Brian and Alice and the D303 system. And, like just about everyone here, I want to speak in, opposition to this decision to move them. These 2 great educators have dedicated their careers to helping students find their creative voices through the IHSA award-winning Stargazer programs, as well as their daily high school English classes. I mean, did you listen to the speeches from some of their students earlier? I mean, come on. There you go. I'm lucky enough to be a working journalist right now. I got bylines in the Chicago Reader, Daily Herald, Belt Magazine, The Hard Times, just to name a few. And I truly owe all of that to Brian and Alice over there. 100%. I encourage the board to really read some of the fantastic work that the current Stargazers are doing. I follow them on Facebook. They're really killing it. And I feel like if you did, we wouldn't be in this situation right now. The decision to move Brian and Alice out of North High School and away from the students that they've mentored and the fantastic programs that they've cultivated is, frankly, ill-considered. On my end, you publicly labeled the Stargazer and other writing-based classes, clubs, programs as, expendable, and I don't think, thank you. And if this wasn't the board's intention, you can prove it by reversing this decision and solving your staff issues correctly. Brian and Alice are not Band-Aids. They are highly trained, seasoned professionals who excel at what they do and elevate the areas that they do it in. They deserve your utmost respect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And that closes citizen comments at this time. Do I have a motion to adjourn to closed session for the purpose of the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, specific individuals who serve as independent contractors in a park, recreational, or educational setting, or specific volunteers of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee, a specific individual who serves as an independent contractor in a park, recreational, or educational setting, or a volunteer of the public body, or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. McNally, and the second from Mrs. Bell. Ms. Marsan, would you please take the roll call vote?
Yes, Mrs. Bell,
Yes.
Mr. Kuschert,
Yes.
Mr. Lackner,
Yes.
Mrs. McCabe,
Yes.
Mr. McNally,
Yes.
Mrs. Barker,
Yes.
and Mrs. Fairgrave.
Yes, motion passes 7-0. We will adjourn to closed session at 6:30 PM. Okay, we are now entering back into open session on Monday, April 17th, 2023 at 8:39 PM. Ms. Marsan, would you please take the roll?
Yes, Mr. Kuschert,
Here.
Mr. Lackner,
Here.
Mrs. McCabe,
Here.
Mr. McNally,
Here.
Mrs. Barker,
Here.
Mrs. Bell. Here. Mrs. Fairgrave.
Here. Okay, as a board, we would like to make some comments related to this evening. The District 303 Board expects the administration to deliver an approach to staffing schools that recognizes shifts in overall enrollment, shifts in enrollment by level, changes in high school course enrollment, staffing needs across the district, and the district's financial requirements, while aligning these factors with student needs, teachers' career progression, and the board's contractual commitments to teachers. In most instances, staffing adjustments are managed through natural attrition and through proactive management of staff levels of non-tenured teachers. At the same time, this complicated process sometimes results in situations where it is impossible to align district requirements with maintaining current assignments of some tenured teachers. District 303's teachers are an incredibly dedicated and talented group. The district and our community are fortunate to attract and retain more than 1,100 certified staff members. And the board and administration understand, and we are very thankful for the positive educational impact that dedicated, engaged teachers provide for each student, family, and our community. This is why making changes to the roster and assignments of teachers is such a difficult process for our district. Therefore, we support the decisions made by administration, and we will continue with the involuntary transfer process. The involuntary transfer process is embedded in the district's contract with teachers because both D303 and SCEA believe that keeping high quality, experienced teachers in D303 is important. It is in place to help keep good teachers in D303, to provide a place for good teachers to land within D303 when overall staffing requirements impact a teacher's current assignment. The board has heard from many members of the St. Charles North community, other D303 members, and the community at large about the positive impact that several of the teachers impacted by these necessary staffing changes have had on the district. It is a real credit to these teachers that they have built such a positive reputation and created such a positive impact on students. And the idea of moving teachers away from assignments in which they are contributing is extremely difficult. At the same time, the administration has worked diligently with board support to solve a complicated staffing challenge that includes more than 1,100 certified staff members, and in accordance with the board's and administration's desire to keep good teachers, worked hard to find alternative locations within D303 where this small number of good teachers can continue to drive positive outcomes for our students. So with that said, referring back to the agenda, we will once again move into closed session. Do I have a motion to adjourn to closed session for the purpose of collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees?
So moved.
Ms. Bell has the first. May I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Lackner. Ms. Marsan, will you please take a roll call vote?
Mr. Lackner,
Yes.
Mrs. McCabe,
Yes.
Mr. McNally,
Yes.
Mrs. Barker,
Yes.
Mrs. Bell. Yes. Mr. Kuschert
Yes.
and Mrs. Fairgrave.
Yes, motion passes 7-0. We will now adjourn to closed session at 8:43 PM.